Hangout since I don't need to record it, but I wanted to show you how I'm gonna. Oh, I see it now. I'm getting an image of you.
Okay, I saw the camera.
Okay.
Well,
It's actually your. It looks like your table.
My tape. Do you see me? It says I'm live.
Yeah, you're live. I see. It looks like the tape. Oh, let's see. It's turning around.
Okay, I see. Why do I have? Where am I?
And I see your desk and a sink.
Oh, I know. The camera's pointing the wrong way.
Okay.
How do I turn the camera around? That's why I need the training.
Okay, is it the camera associated with your laptop or is it a webcam?
This is my iPad.
Oh, okay. So on the iPad then, you should be able to, I think it's the top right-hand corner, and it looks like a camera, and it's got two little arrows around it. And if you touch that, instead of it pointing out, it will be pointing towards you.
Okay, let's see.
And I'm thinking you can do that while you're still in the Hangout. I see you now. Hey there. Oh, cute hairstyle.
Okay, if you say so.
Okay. It looks like it's towards you now.
Yeah, I've got my daughter was on it, and I'm drained, so I've got to sit next to the outlet.
Okay.
Let me put this right here, and I'll be situated. One more second.
No problem.
Okay.
And I'm glad to see that. I think, did Naveen go ahead and set you up with that so that your iPad was already set up with your Google account? So if that's the case, we're really halfway there.
Well, actually, I got a new AirPad Air.
Oh, okay.
So I'm using it. I stepped away to get a book to prop me up. I got a new Air because I needed more gigabytes.
Okay.
I opted for the 64 gig, and because you cannot add. That's the one thing you can't do. You can't add once you buy an iPad. You can't upgrade.
Yeah, you can't add any more storage.
So you might as well buy. And I figured 64.
Oh yeah, that should take care of it. And then as long as you associate that with either an iCloud account or Google Drive, then you can always move things off of your hard drive into the cloud, and then that way you can still preserve some of your storage. Of course, with your apps and stuff, you can't do that, but like your videos and pictures and all that stuff, if you go ahead and source it out to the cloud, then you can erase it from your hard drive, and so that'll be good. That should be plenty of space.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good. Okay, so we're starting close to time, and like I said, knowing that you were able to do this, because that's really why I set it up this way, I was going to go ahead and test to see how well you were able to join, to see if you still needed to download drivers and plugins and that type of thing. But you're situated and ready to go with that. Let's go ahead. So really the technical issue is not really an issue. Just like what happened right now, I sent you the actual link in the invitation so that you really just could have clicked on that link and hopped right into the room. Or that's what you did? Okay, great. So this last time, go ahead.
I was just waiting on you.
Okay.
What I did on my iPad, I did Google Drive, and there's an app for Hangout.
Yes.
Because at first it kept telling me, we can't open, and I went,
right.
Hey, something's wrong. Then I saw your training video, and I said, okay, I must need the Hangout.
Yes, that's what it is.
So I got the Hangout app, and the stuff just started popping up. But now I have a couple questions, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of you. If I
go ahead.
Just stop me.
Let's go with that.
Okay, it says if you're on air, that other people can watch our training?
Well, no, yes and no. Let me tell you, the way it is on air, can't be done originally as private. Since it's air, it's just broadcasted because it's like a streamed broadcast. But what you do is when you invite people, I invited only you. It automatically pops up public. and then you can add your other circles. But if you deselect public, then it's not going to be advertised publicly, because you can go to that little place where it says Google Hangout on Air, and it shows you all the ones that are scheduled, and you can just choose to pop in and watch any of them. If you deselect public, then automatically when a person goes to try to find a Hangout, they couldn't find you. So we're basically public and unlisted, and the only way a person could find us is if they knew what it was called, and then they would type in what it's called, and then they could actually see it. They could find it that way, but they'd have to put in the exact way that I typed it in when I created it.
Okay.
And then
but we're not that important.
No, you're exactly. And then afterwards, then you can go back and make it private, because it creates a YouTube video in your YouTube account, but it's the same way. It's unlisted. So a person can't just say, they can't just go into your page, or in this case, it's the Teach Delta page. They can't just go to our page and say, well, let me look at all their videos. This video won't be listed. And then so I can go afterward and make it private. So that's the way I usually do training, because we always want to capture the training. So I have a video to show that it was done, but we don't want to make it public so everyone else can go find it.
Okay. Okay, I'm with you.
Good question, though. That's exactly, and so that was one of the things I wanted to go over with. So I forgot who I was dealing with. So you went through all the training already. So
well, you sent me. So of course I went through the training, and I got
You'd be surprised. Some people who you're like, well, did you watch the training? Oh,
yes, I did. I had trouble with a couple of the slides wouldn't show up, and I don't know. Michelle still has 2007. Office 2007.
Okay.
And the first 4 showed fine, but the ones that looked like you captured them from the internet, those 4 would not show. But I could read them.
Okay.
I couldn't hear the voice. I could either look at them or I could hear them, but I couldn't do those 4 at the same time.
Ah. Okay, I'm gonna. You know what? I had someone else tell me that they were on some of the slides wouldn't play, is what they called it. So what I'm gonna probably need to do, let me write that down, is to ask someone in the computing center for me to share the link with them and ask them to check it out and find out what the problem is. Because sometimes what I find out is that there is a disconnect between iMac, the Mac, and then going to a PC. And so some of those things don't play correctly, because I run into that sometimes in the courses, is that I create something and I can check it, from another computer that I'm not signed into, trying to do it like just a general person, and it works fine for me. But the problem is I do everything on a Mac, and then those systems sometimes don't connect. So I will ask Cheyenne to take a look at that and figure out maybe what I need to do so that it is viewable.
And I think it's slides 4. There are 11 slides.
Okay.
So I can see the first 4.
Ah.
The last 3.
Okay.
But it must be 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
That I cannot see, and they're like the pages from the Google site images.
Yeah.
From the actual Google site. Those are the ones that I cannot see. But
okay.
I can hear them.
But you just can't see what I'm referring to.
Right. And like I say now, if I get out of slideshow and just do the slides individually, I can see them.
Okay.
So you can see them. So I don't know, and I may play with it just a little bit. And like I say, now I have room. I can download that file.
Okay.
I went ahead and bought PowerPoint and Office for my iPad. So I may be able to download it on the iPad.
Okay.
I just didn't want, to clog it up too much.
Exactly.
Okay, now let me be quiet and go finish going through my training.
This is all part of the training. We have to go ahead and troubleshoot. Okay. It's because you remember the old days, I was not this tech authority. That was Naveen and Renuka, so I've had to try to learn everything off the cuff. So, all right. So, knowing that you've gone through the training, though, and that you know how to not only join, but since you sent the request to me. I know you know how to start the Google Hangout because I received a notification from you. That's the major part of what I wanted to go over. And you asked some of the questions that I was able to answer as far as what happens when you initiate a Google Hangout on air and create an event, and then how to make sure that that's unlisted and not public so you don't have to worry about that. And then later on, once you go to the YouTube channel that's associated with your Google Plus, you can make that private. So from that point on, only you are able to see it, or a person has to be actually logged in to the YouTube page that's associated with it before they can watch it. So that's how you have that security measure that you want for yourself. Oftentimes what I'll do is make it private while I go and edit it, and then I can go back and make it unlisted again and only share the links to specific people. That's what we do with our students after we've actually had a chance to video stream something live, and then we want to go back and clean it up for when they go back and look at it, because sometimes, you know, we'll have little audio problems, or there'll be spaces and gaps, and when we want to just actually have that so that we can save it for posterity, we want to fix it, and then that way I can have control over when they can go back and look at it again. That link is not actually available while I'm editing it. So that's kind of how that works. So as far as utilizing this for the interviews, I wanted us to go over looking at those protocols and how we will go back and forth, because it actually will be a colleague of mine here, and we'll be here actually conducting this interview live, since this is a young man that missed last Thursday. So he'll be here instead of him being on the Hangout, and then you will be in the Hangout. So what we'll do this afternoon is I always use my laptop to capture a video so that we have a clip of the interview afterward, but this time I'll capture it using the Google Hangout on Air. So you'll be able to see us. Okay. So you'll see both myself and Dr. Lovett, and then you'll see Ben, and then he'll be able to see you. So that's the way we're going to set it up, so that there's a webcam associated with it, and it'll show us, and then on the screen he'll be able to see you. So while you're asking him questions, that, you know, he'll be able to look to the screen, and we can throw it back and forth like we've done in the past when you were actually here. What I wanted to do is kind of go through, and so we could kind of pre-screen the questions and figure out which ones you feel most comfortable with. Since you've done it before, I feel like you're probably more adept to do any of the questions. I have had to train Dr. Lovett and Whitney Sutherland and some others for this year. They don't have any experience actually doing it. So some of the questions, some of the more difficult ones that to try to set up a scenario, I might leave for you and I.
Okay.
Do you have that packet that I
yes.
shared with you? Of course you do. Okay.
I printed everything out because I wasn't sure about Michelle's printer, and I said I don't want to use all her ink. So I printed everything before I left home.
Wonderful. And so I wanted to, because for me it's been a year as well, so I wanted us to kind of go back and brush up on again and just reiterate.
Let me ask you one question before we get into the meat of the issue. And this is going back, and I apologize for that. The YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't use YouTube much.
Right.
I just never really had the urge to go sit and watch it.
Right. I understand.
So kind of give me like a 30-second blurb of what, let's say you want me to look at something that the Teach program has put on YouTube. What do I do?
Okay. For that, that's really easy, because I can just send you, I can actually share a link with you. And that was on one of those pages you said that was kind of stuck. So like you said, you were able to see like a still picture of the YouTube, but you didn't see me taking you through it. Basically, you'll see on our page, it's got our little logo at the top left-hand corner, and then we've got a banner across there, so you know you're actually looking at my page or video from my page. It's like a banner that it creates for it. But it's just like if someone, wanted to share with you a song or something like that that someone else has posted to YouTube, then they're able to go down to that section that says share, and then they click on the link that's created there. So that's what I would do. I actually would share with you the link that takes you directly to that video. And so, of course, when the video opens up, you'll see that this is posted or published from my page, but you won't actually have to go to the page and look through. It's something you have the capacity to do because, working with the project, we share with you all the login protocols, and you can always go in and pretend to be Teach Project because, whenever we want something to be captured for us, that anybody does, then we ask you to use the Teach Project page so that it's always recorded to our YouTube. Because if you were to go in as Lena F, the way that your Google Plus is set up, then it's going to go to your YouTube page. So
and I'm going to change my name to C.
Okay.
I don't know, and that's what I'm a little bit concerned about. Will it let me change my last name?
Yes, yes. Because the thing is, you're not going to be actually changing your Gmail account. And since it's going to be associated with the same account, all you have to do is go into your profile, and you can change the name of the account. As long as you're not changing what it's connected to, then it's going to still be the same, and just your name that shows up will look different.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. And if you get into that and you start looking at it and you're not sure where it is, if you'll let me know, we can go back and do this again and share screen, and I can show you how to find it.
Okay. And I will listen to it. I'll look at the page really carefully, and then I'll listen to that section again.
Okay.
And you walking me through it. Okay, then. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
No problem at all. I want to make sure that, that's what is easier, knowing that you've already previewed the training before we do this. It makes it easier because then whatever it is that you need some clarification on, we can just talk about that rather than going over the whole thing.
Okay.
And like I said, unfortunately, I've come to the point where I'm pleasantly surprised when a person actually does that. Because I'm so used to having to go back over it again.
And we're teachers, and we'd be jumping on our children.
I know, and you would be really surprised. Yeah,
it's funny. It's really funny.
The worst. We're kind of the worst when it's a training or something because we talk, but we don't want anyone to talk over talking. And it's the same with this. It's like, we understand I had so many things going on, I didn't get a chance to do such and so, but let our kids tell us that. And then we don't understand anything.
You should have your priorities straight.
Yeah, right. That's the way it is. So this evening, the person that we're going to be dealing. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a second and close my door. I didn't realize I had it open all the time. Since I'm going to be sharing names, I wanted to go ahead and close that door. His name is Ben Rogers, and I think that I actually sent you the rating form with his name already on it. Did I do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's see.
All right. The one that I'm looking for, it says at the top, the Star Teacher Selection Interview Continua Rating Form. And this is the one we actually write down what he says and we score or rate him. And it should have been, there's like a...
This said name Golden
Sand. Oh, okay. Okay. You know what? We didn't send you Ben because Ben was supposed to come face-to-face on Thursday, and you were just supposed to do Golden, I think, is tomorrow. Let me go ahead and... How are you with printing?
Not good. So can I just erase Golden's name?
Yes, you can do that. You can do that, and then I'll send you another one.
Okay, and I'll have printing down by tomorrow because I'm going to be here 2 weeks. So we'll have printing down by tomorrow. What's Ben's last name?
Ben Rogers, Rogers, no D.
Okay. And I'll have this fixed, so I need a new iPad cover. And I'm trying to decide if I want that $90 vendor
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to pay $90 for an iPad.
Well, wait a minute. What about the dock that you had for the 3? Will it won't fit that one? Remember we had that little dock
Uh-uh.
where you could stand? Okay, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, yeah. The new iPad has that skinny one that the 5.
Oh, sure does. It's got a different port. That's right.
Mhm.
Same thing with the iPhones. Okay. So what I'm thinking, looking here, if you take a look at that sheet, then the easier thing, like Dr. Lovett, she can ask that first section that is just ask for background information, like the areas of certification, um, tell us something about yourself, work experience, and all that at the beginning.
Hold on just a minute. I'm
Okay.
trying to catch up with you. Where am I? What for?
It should be on that front side where you have her name right underneath where her name is.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm just going to put it down to the side.
I'm here. I'm just getting my glasses, so
Okay.
apparently I need them. Apparently I need my spectacles. Okay.
All right. All right. So we'll have her do that front matter because it's kind of an easier thing to jump into, and she's really comfortable with that. She really has become pretty comfortable with it. She just likes getting, how it is to get more experience doing it. And then that next one where it asks about the persistence, where you ask about what problems are you thinking that you projecting yourself in the future, what problems would you anticipate having with students, and then, continuing to probe to make sure they're as specific as possible, because if they say discipline problems, you know how you get into, well, if we're asking them for particular solutions, we want them to think about one particular discipline problem. So you'll need to continue to probe until they give you an actual scenario, like a student's throwing paper, or a student doesn't turn their homework in, student that keeps talking, a student that cheats on a test or something like that. So we need them to be more specific than discipline problems. And then once they give you a specific problem, that's when you go into asking what would they think is a solution to that, or what might they do. And of course, when you look at our scoring rubric, they get more points for the more options or the more solutions that they can try to brainstorm. So we can try to keep probing until they give us as many as they possibly can, until they just finally say, well, I don't know. If they can't think of anything else, then that's where we stop. We're trying to get them to 5 responses, and
I see 5.
off, 1 or 2 or 3. They know, maybe they'll give discipline work, or they take a privilege, or da 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 da. And so we keep probing them, and then we'll ask you also to do B, where you say, basically, how often do you think a teacher has to think in that manner? They have a problem, and they have to come up with multiple solutions. And so if you'll do A and B, hopefully they'll realize once they start to think about that there are multiple things that they may run into, and they're going to have to, on a regular basis and continual basis, have to do that to come and think of some different ways to approach a problem or to solve a problem. So then that'll be that whole section for category.
Persistence. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll do persistence.
Okay, and then so what we'll do is then I will do the response to authority. Now I'm going to try to check on Ben. I know he came into the program in the first summer session, and he really should have gone on ahead and finished Summer Institute and the 9-hour course block, and then been ready to do his internship last year, but he was not able to do the requirements, so I'm not for sure if he's been in a classroom or not yet. So what I found is that if we have a person that's had some experience, you have to kind of change up your questioning, because they may already have been there. They're not projecting.
And tried some of this stuff.
Exactly. And, at first, it was kind of difficult, and I questioned myself, is it really necessary? Is it appropriate for us to still do this particular interview for a person who's been in there? And my answer was a resounding yes after our last person, because the fact of the matter is that they went in there with some content knowledge, and they have had very little pedagogy. You know, they may have been taking a class here or there, but since they didn't start off with the institute, probably have not done the 9 hours, they didn't get that proper introduction and preparation. And so their experience at this point, I see it as not valid. You know, they did not have the tools to respond
To
and
do the job.
yes, and the way that they're responding, they need to see that it may or may not be appropriate because they have not had training nor have they had supervision. And I still want to figure out, you know, you may be in there doing the job every day, but how are you doing the job? And let's think about that, and let us kind of delve into what are your dispositions. You know, like with this young man that we were interviewing the other night, it became very clear that he had been around some toxic teachers that had kind of told him what wasn't going to work with these kids and what you couldn't do, and you'll never get them to do homework. So that's what's going to have to be undone with him, and we needed to know that, you know, because he thinks, you know, this is old hat. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go through the, you know, the motions of what they want me to do here with the coursework, but I pretty much already know this, and I'm already a teacher. He's not really a teacher yet. At this point, if he doesn't, I mean, he doesn't realize at this point he's more like a long-term sub because he's not prepared as a teacher. He's a person that knows that content, and he's in there every day, but he doesn't have the tools to deal with these things, and I want him to see it will get better if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And that is so true, but it, you know, it's just like everybody's a teacher.
Yes.
Everybody thinks they are a teacher.
Yes. And, you know, that's one of the things I added last summer for the Summer Institute is teaching an art or a science. And it was a, you know, a form that we talked about, and we had some research background. And they had to, at the end, realize it's both.
It's both.
Art and science. You have got to have the pedagogy and the training and the, you know, the proper tools and strategies for this thing to work. You just say, I mean, some people, they naturally have the dispositions. They may have a skill set, but they still need that knowledge. You know,
Right.
that's the thing that they don't understand. And then you could have the knowledge, or you might have the skills, you know, like you have the content, you already got that down, but you really need someone to explain to you dispositions. You need to change some dispositions and understand the way that you approach it. So that's what we're working on. And so that's why I still think this is valid. But I was just telling you that ahead of time. I'm going to try to find out if he's been working. So then that way we kind of can be prepared to know we're going to have to maybe alter the way we ask the questions. And
Okay.
I'm thinking that for, like, you know, section 2, response to authority, that's when we give them a scenario and ask, you know, do you have a pastime or do you have a hobby in which you pursue that you love? And then they tell us something. Of course, it can't be writing or reading because, you know, it won't work in that scenario. And then we say, well, let's suppose that you use your love of this and you incorporate this into your lessons, and give them an example. Let's just say they love nature, and then they, you know, you're teaching elementary students, so you start to actually take nature walks out and take the kids outside to collect things while you're talking about science and all those types of things. You're giving them examples. You're bringing things into the classroom. They are actually going out and keeping a journal and those types of things, and they're doing really well. They're excited. They're responding well on their tests. The parents are happy. They're happy. Your principal comes in and they say, you know, I want you to teach what's in the curriculum and stop all this nature walk, you know. So then they have to go through, what do we do with that? And what if he still doesn't understand? What if she still doesn't understand? When you have a person that's already in the classroom, you have to suppose that maybe they've already done that. And that's where it gets a little tricky. So you ask them if, you know, that you incorporate that, you know, let's just suppose you had a supervisor that comes in. Because, you know, most of the times a principal is not going to be like that. But, you know, you have a supervisor from the district. And so that's kind of how we might have to frame it differently.
Okay.
And that's the change that I just wanted everybody to be aware of, because we have some people who've actually gotten a job and been the teacher of record, or they might have been working as an uncertified teacher. And so they've experienced some things. And we have to frame it a little differently, as if they, rather than as if they've never taught before. And so after I do response to authority, Then it'll be time for Myra again, and she'll do the generalizations. And so she's going to do the one that's you have to remember to do the 3 parts, because sometimes I would go back and realize we didn't have all the scores. But so I'll remind her to make sure she asks all 3 parts so that we can get a score for all 3. And make sure you listen for that. She's going to ask them to, basically give their teaching philosophy without using that word. Then she'll ask them to describe what's happening in their classroom, to be able to exemplify that's what they believe. That'll be B, the first score for B. And then that third score at the bottom comes when she gives them a scenario. Let's say you walk into a teacher's room and this is what's happening. What do you think is her philosophy, or what do you think is her generalization about teaching? And then they have to show that. And then we'll flip over on the back, and so it'll be your turn to do the at risk. And then the main thing with the at risk is to remember.
Describing
Yes.
It's not special ed.
Exactly. And
it's coming back to me.
You remember? Yes. Because, and I'm going to tell you, I'm still just amazed. I guess it's so ingrained. We've used the word so much, or the phrase so much, that even when you go back and you define it as one or more years behind, one or more years behind in basic skills. And you can say that over and over again. It's 1 or more years behind in basic skills. What do you think some of the causes are? Automatically, they give you social causes or populations, that usually are at risk, but they don't really think about that. That's not really the cause. If you think about a child being behind in skills, it should have something to do with the skills, not just your mom and your dad and where you live. That doesn't completely explain to me why a child is behind in skills, because there are a lot of kids that are poor and have one parent or live in a home or could be homeless. They're not behind in basic skills. You know what I'm saying? So they're still not really getting that when we're talking about being behind in skills, that automatically is academic. So let's think about what academic problems or academic causes, and then we could come up with some academic solutions, because if all their causes are social, there are no solutions for the school. There's nothing you can do, because you're not a social worker. But a lot of them still are going in that way. We can't prompt them, but we can probe. So if they're giving you only social causes, then you'll say, is there anything else? Can you think of anything else? Because we're hoping they can give us at least 1 or 2 that's actually associated with the school where they get the skills.
Okay, but I can't say, like you said, they go through all the social, poor, blah, blah, black,
right.
Live down in no man's land,
right.
40. But I can't say, well, what do you think the school should do? Or
that would be prompting in our training. That's what they said we can't do. But that's one of the reasons why we fought for the ability to define at risk first, because if you don't define it, they're going to just tell you, right? That's what we hear in the media.
Okay, well, I will make
home, blah, blah, blah.
Slowly define.
Yeah, so we define it. We tell them ahead of time. And what I usually say is, I'm going to define the term for you. One of the reasons is because it's used a lot in the media. Most people have heard it before, and you might already think that you know what it is. But the term at risk really means that they're at risk of dropout or failure in the particular grade because they're 1 or more years behind in basic skills. So if I tell you that at risk means that a student is 1 or more years behind in basic skills, what do you think are some of the causes? And so some people do say, well, maybe it's an undiagnosed learning disability, or maybe they don't understand the way the teacher is teaching, those types of things. And some people will maybe sprinkle those in if you probe. If they get a chance to say all that stuff, uninvolved parents didn't read to them, they're from a poor home, their background, they'll say all those things. Once they get all those out, if you keep saying, can you think of anything else, they'll usually give you maybe 1 or 2 that actually is associated with academics. If they still won't, there's nothing we can do about it. You probe them as much as you can. We try to probe them 3 times. If after 3 times they still don't give it to you, move on.
Okay. But you don't even say basic academic skills. You
You
just
can't
say
say that. Yeah.
you
Basic
can't say
academic skills.
basic
Yeah,
academic.
exactly. You can
Now
say that.
that ought to be enough to get them going
Yeah.
in the right direction. Okay, I've got your. They're
All
at
right.
risk of dropout or failure because they're 1 or more years behind in academic skills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would ask them what.
Pauses.
Okay, what are the causes? Or can
And
you?
then,
What?
like I said, a lot of times they'll rattle several off, and you can write all this down and then just say thank you, thank you. And then if they haven't given you any that are going to get them on the scale, then you can start to probe them and say anything else. And you can do that at least 3 times.
Okay,
And
three,
after that, you got to stop.
3 times, babe.
Yeah.
You're
And you're right.
proud.
Right. And then, some people I think start to figure it out. Then we say, well, if you believe those are the causes for being at risk of failure or dropout, what do you think are some of the solutions? And of course, the people who've given us some social solutions will go to some social causes, they'll go to some social solutions. But then they'll start to realize, well, I can't do that. Like, I can't make sure they're fed. I can't make sure this and that. Then they start to think about, well, what can I really do? And then sometimes they'll go back and say a cause, or they'll give you a solution. What do they think the school could do? Well, maybe they need some tutoring. They say, well, maybe, they need extra help. And then they realize there's something maybe they can do. So then that next one after you will be me, and I'll do the personal versus professional, where I ask, can a student learn from a teacher they don't really love? And then vice versa. And they said, one of the things in our training, we kept saying love, a lot of times you don't think that, but they were specific that they used the word love because it had to do with emotion and connection, and it wasn't just about rapport. And so we expect them to automatically say, well, yes, and then to explain, which most of them do. Well, yeah, they can. You don't have to love them if they understand, if you're stuck with that word love. Because then they realize, well, I didn't love all my teachers, and some of them I really didn't like, but I respected them. I knew they were doing a good job. I knew that they cared about me. We just didn't get along. That
Right.
type of thing. And then the same thing with students. Can you teach a student you don't love? Well, then they realize, to be realistic, I probably won't love all of them. Some of them, I might not like them either.
Yeah, you're gonna have a kid that gets
Yeah.
on nerves.
Yeah.
But you have to first treat him fairly.
Right. And that's exactly the target we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. To say, right. So that they can go, well, I might not love them, but I'll try to make sure that I'm doing the best for them. I'm giving them what I need to give them, because that is our reality. And unfortunately, that's what we're trying to get at. Some people, when they think about teaching, it's a really warm fuzzy that they're thinking about, and they don't realize all these kids are not going to be what you consider
warm and fuzzy
on TV, and that you might not, as much as you try, you might not really be able to connect to all those kids the way you want to, and they may not love you, and they may show it. But you gotta still believe you can reach them and give them some value, add something to them. So that's what we're looking for that one. And again, the probe for that is if they say, well, yeah, you've got to love your teacher, so that they can learn from you, or so that they will, believe that you want to help them, and then you want to continue to say love so that they understand, well, not everybody's going to love you, and you're not going to love every person. There's a difference between love, respect, like you said, to have a rapport with, and to provide this service that they need, but it may not be love. And the connection also is good. You want to connect with, but that's not the same as love, because that's not what we're here to give them. We want to give them that respect and have a rapport and be connected with them, but we're not trying to take the place of the people in their lives that love them. We are responsible for educating them. And that kind of weeds out the social worker mentality. They want to do everything for the kids, and then all throughout the day you're saying, but you're not adding any academic value. They're not learning anything. They
You
love
can love them to death, and they're dumber.
and they're failing every assessment. But it's a love fest in here, you know.
Oh, you go in and make this private.
No, some people need to hear this.
But they love him, and he's warm and fuzzy.
Yes, yes. They want to be in your class all day long because they don't have to do anything. So, yeah, we want to make sure they understand that. And, you know, what's funny, though, is that as a young, you know, when you're young and then you have this romanticized view, that's the thing you have to get used to and realize, you know, and then kids can be sneaky and they can play you and you don't realize that. They just love you, but you're letting them get away with murder and you don't see it. And it's not for their benefit. So I think, you know, that question and what everybody's really saying is that these questions are really making them think about things they had never thought about before. And I think it also helps them to have a more realistic perspective before they go in. This does a lot just to realize, you know what, teaching might have been a whole lot more than what I thought it was, you know. And so then we'll have Myra do the last one. Well, let me make sure. Hold on.
You got burnout?
Oh, no, that was yeah, that's B. And so burnout is going to be, I wanted to make sure because I think it'll be easier for you to do this last question. So burnout will be Myra. I had my initials wrong. And so that, you know, for that one, you only have to listen for A and B again. She's going to basically ask, you know, what, you know, is it possible everyone will experience burnout, causes, and solutions? So asking if everyone can experience burnout and causes are all A, and then B is the solutions. And again, she will continue to probe them at least 3 times because some people think that they won't burn out because they think the reason you burn out is because you're boring and you do the same thing all the time and you're not investing in yourself. And that's not realistic for a person going into high needs, because you and I both understand, you know, when you're in high needs school, it's not always you. It's a lot of times it's what you're dealing with, and it's not the kids, it's the grown-ups. You know, so that's what they also have to understand, is that if you know that it's a possibility that'll happen to you, for you to safeguard against it, and if you're dealing with it, to realize that you can come up with some viable solutions and that you can continue to persist instead of being like a lot of these people, 3 years and they're done because they are really burnt out and they can't stand it anymore and they want to go to a place where it's not so hard and they don't feel like they have to fight to teach. And that's the only way I think we're ever going to keep people in these schools for more than 3 years or for a long time, is for them to realize this is going to be something that you're really going to have to be worried about. And you need to start thinking right now, what are you going to do when you feel it coming on? Or maybe what you can do to prevent it, knowing that it's a possibility with you in this situation. So, again, that's a thinking thing. Of course, we can't teach that whole thing in an interview, but that's what we'll be working on in the Summer Institute, internship, and all that. So then the last one will be yours, and that's on fallibility. And this one I think is one of the most difficult ones, because when they think about making a mistake, a person who has no background in education, the biggest mistakes they think about are in instruction. They're thinking they won't teach something right, that they won't be able to keep up with paperwork. They're afraid that they're going to have problems with discipline. And those are realistic worries. But we don't want to stop with that. So if they give you those, then you'll have to that's when you probe and say, is there anything else? Because what we want them to do, if you look at their scoring rubric again, or even just right there on the sheet, we're looking for them to get in the mode of not academic, but connection again. Fail to motivate or help a student, might hurt a child's feelings or break a trust. We're wanting them to look in that direction, because those are the things that can break the rapport with students so that they're not going to be successful. You're not going to really be able to get through to them, and that you're going to feel like what you're doing is not really adding any value. So a lot of those experience, like they might say, well, maybe I won't understand what a kid needs, and I'll think it's working, or I think my kids are getting it, and they're really not getting it, or they just can't. They're not able to understand the way I'm teaching. I'm not able to teach them the way they need me to. That's an example of one. Or I can't get through to one of my students, and it seems like they just are not interested. Um, um, if they're not giving that to you after you probe them like once, and they keep thinking about grades, uh, papers, keeping up with paperwork, teaching, making sure that they have lesson plans, behavior problems, then you probe them, and you might say, is there anything that if you say there's something I'm afraid I might do or say.
Yeah, I'm looking at your note
Yeah.
here. What might you do or say?
Yeah.
But you can't, I can't say, what if you embarrass the student?
No, yeah. That's prompting, that when because that's what we're really trying to get to. The fallibility, and it shows so much. Usually with the new teachers, they think, don't let them see you sweat. Never let them see your sweat. That's what they've heard from some people. And so that they don't realize they're going to put up a front that is going to erode their rapport with their students. And it's not, you don't have to present yourself as infallible. You have to present yourself as capable. That's it. If you show that you're capable and prepared, you can be fallible. Now, the problem you run into is when kids realize that you're not capable or you're not prepared. Then that's when they're going to tear you to shreds. And so that's one of the things with Wong. You go in and show them, listen, this is where I have my degrees from. I'm going through the process of this right now. I have this experience. I have a master's in biology or whatever it is, so they understand I'm capable. I'm supposed to be here. But then you can say you're fallible because everybody is. So that's the main thing, and we're looking for them to give us at least two. So that's where you see those two brackets. There's two A's and two B's. We want to try to probe them until they give us at least two examples that'll fit in there. So anytime they give you any two that are not behavior management, lesson plans, and their teaching ability, that's the type of thing. Or, if they say, well, I'm worried that I won't be able to relate to my principal. Now, that is another, that's one of the ones you can, again, that has to do with relationships. So we could use one of those because it's not the other one. So that's we just want to try to probe them. Is there anything else? If you ask them that the first time they're not getting it, then you might ask the one, is there anything that you might be afraid of saying or doing? Or if you were to say, I'm afraid I would say this or do this, then they can think about it. And most people will think about, what you can't take back. I'm dealing with kids or parents, that. Then they start to think about it. So that's as far as we can go as far as probing. Again, we do 3 probes, and we take, if they only give us, things that are not applicable, we still just write those down. I mean, us, we try to write them all down, but then we try to at least give them credit if they got there.
If they got real close.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at 3. 3 is if they were to mention they did something in front of the class or others.
Right.
The children.
Right.
They get the 2.5 did something break trust with child. Okay.
Right.
Or embarrass the child. And that's and Tiffany, they don't realize it, but I did it once to a little boy at Carroll Jr. He said
we all have those stories.
And it wasn't, and what I said was, it was like 2 words. And the kids, this boy got you. And I'm going, I didn't, though. I didn't, but I had.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't anything earth-shattering, but I had embarrassed him.
Yeah.
I had embarrassed him.
And, some places and some age groups, you have to be careful because it's on the verge. Because I realized one of the ways that I had rapport with kids is that I was a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Sarcasm. There was a bit of sarcasm on all of our.
That's what it was.
We would be sarcastic with each other. That was kind of the type of humor we had. But then learning your kids, I realized it's just like anything else. Some could dish it and couldn't take it. And then there were some sensitive areas I didn't know were there till you ventured on it. And then that's where we had to talk to the teachers to realize that you don't have to say, well, I'm going to change. I won't ever do that again and play around with my kids. You just have to say, well, wow, I realized I stepped on their toes, so that I have to apologize. Because if you did it publicly, then you have to fix it publicly.
You have to fix it publicly.
And that helps everybody, because then they realize, oh, she wasn't trying to get him. That was a mistake, and she wasn't trying to, cut him down in front of us or make us think that he wasn't this or that, that type of a thing. And sometimes even troublemakers that I handle like that with the sarcasm, or let them know who I was really in charge, when you realize, wait a minute, this really did affect their viewing of themselves and other people's, and they made them look like they were being ostracized and an outcast. Well, it's like, okay, that's too far. Even though you were being a butt.
Yeah. Even though
I can't be one in response to you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so, make sure I got fallibility.
Okay.
Think of mistakes you might have made as a
right.
teacher. Why is this a mistake?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
that's the thing. Like I said, a lot of people get there, and you'd be surprised without the prompting when you keep asking them, and then the one, anything you might say or do. Then again, like I said, kind of gets to relationship and the report and the culture in the room, the culture with the kids. It kind of speaks to that. And then, yeah, that's it. The apologize publicly gets them a 3, but they might say something else. But they say, well, I think that might happen. I'm not sure exactly what I might do about it. Maybe I'll ask someone else what I should do about it. They still can get 1 or 2 points for that.
Points for that, yeah. Because relying, go to your colleagues, hopefully,
right.
A non-toxic colleague.
Right. Or if they say, like principal or somebody to say, I've done this, and what do you think? And a person who feels that they might have broken trust and is concerned with that, they'll recognize when they get bad advice or when they get good advice. So, I think it's good when they can say, okay, I'll think about doing these things, to try to fix what I've done. At least realize it needs to be fixed. That's what I look at.
Okay. Well, I will go over the one. I'll go over them all again.
Okay.
But I'll especially go over the ones that I'm going to do to make sure. Especially, I'm reading the little hints.
Okay.
I was going to read them on the plane, but when you're going away for 2 weeks, and
yes,
I had all kinds of things. And my husband's gone. He's on a sailing trip in Florida. So I just getting everything coordinated was.
I understand. Getting ready for a trip. I mean, and I think with me, my problem is I always put things off to the last minute. You think, I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'll do that. Usually sleep is not in the plans. I think, well, I don't have to sleep. I'll sleep on the plane. I'll do this at the last minute, when I'm supposed to be sleeping. So I understand. I'm so glad you were able to take the time out.
Oh, yeah. I'm on kid duty, and Ashley is in the back, and she is having her first day. This is her first day of spring break.
Oh, my.
So she just wants to relax. She doesn't want to go anywhere, doesn't want to do anything. So I said, okay, because today's going to be a little chilly, and I think we're going to have a really pretty day Wednesday, and Michelle's going to take off, so we're going to do. And we were out all day yesterday. We shopped till we dropped. So.
That's so nice. I was going to say, okay, there's another person I know, DeWanna Greer, that used to be here. Her daughter is in Ohio. So they're probably working together. Devin Menifee.
Yes, that's Michelle's good friend.
Yeah, okay, well, yes, because I just saw her. We were in Chicago for the NAC, National Alt Certification, and she came over because she said it wasn't very far from her. So she drove over to see her mom, and I got a chance to see her for a minute.
Okay.
That's what she's talking about, too, is the cold. She's like, it is really cold here.
It's really cold, and this is their first winter, and my granddaughter is starting to sound like a Yankee.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. That's Southern accent.
Doesn't take long.
But anyway, they're having a good time. Okay, now let me make sure our meeting today is at 3.
Yes.
Your time.
I'm going to send you another invitation, but you can, like you just did, you can always just go ahead and click on the link and just come on in the room.
Okay.
But we'll be set up. I'll set up a few minutes early down there, and so hopefully I'll already be on when you go ahead and click the link.
Well, I'll probably try the link about 2:50 just to, I like to make sure I'm there.
Make sure, okay.
But this is working really well because I thought I was going to have to use the computer. I'm actually on. I'm surprised Google did it because when I first tried, it said, you can't set up this new account because you're logged in somewhere else. So I went I paid as if I was logged in. But this is going to work fine. And you can see me. The volume's good.
Yes.
Okay. Her wireless works good.
Yes, it does. Because, I was going to say, usually there's a little lag, but we're talking just like this is a conversation. So that's good.
Good. Yeah. She has the hardwired with Comcast.
Okay.
And that seems no, it's not Comcast. It's Time Warner.
Okay.
So, but that seems to be working good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll study up a little bit more to make sure I'm ready for my questions.
Okay.
And read, and I'll go over my rubric, and I'll have scratch paper here to write down their responses.
Sounds great.
And do I need to write down because do I grade every section?
Yes. I forgot to say that too. But then the interview packet that you had earlier, if you have any questions, if you want to, remember how we've done it before, if you want to script first and write what he says and not be worried about scoring him, then you can always go back. And if you have any questions as far as where do they fall on that continuum from the 0 to the 3, then this is the one that's got more information where you can actually go and say, okay, well, he falls in a 2 instead of a 2.5 or 1.5 instead. This gives a little bit more. So you can always go do that one a little later instead of trying to score while we're actually asking questions. And sometimes it's so obvious that while they're talking, and if they hit target, you can go ahead if you want to, like, oh, I'll circle 3. I know that they said exactly what I was looking for. But if it's one of those that's fuzzy, you can always go back because we'll add up our points, and then we'll get a composite score from all 3 of us later on that is going to be their score. Okay. All right.
Okay, then. Well, I think I am ready.
I think so, too.
Log off of this.
So all you have to do is to go up at the top, and I think it's at the top on the iPad as well. But once you find that, look, it's a red telephone receiver. If you click it, then it's going to just hang you up and make you leave the call.
Okay.
You see the little red?
Yeah, I got the red telephone receiver. Okay, then. Well, I will see you at 2:55.
Yes. All right.
Okay, then.
Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.